Hello, welcome to Polymedia. My name is Ines Lozano and today we're going to be talking about what is a metaphor. Now, the goals of this Polymedia video are three. First of all, to define what a metaphor is and how it can be used at a basic level. Second, to illustrate the basic mechanisms underlying conceptual metaphors. And third, to illustrate the use of conceptual metaphors with some examples. The contents this video will cover are what is a conceptual metaphor, some examples of conceptual metaphors, and some conclusions. Now, first of all, what is a conceptual metaphor? This term might ring a bell to you. You've heard about the word metaphor. You can maybe intuitively give examples of metaphors, but what is a conceptual metaphor? Now, within the field of cognitive linguistics, metaphor has received a lot of attention, and it's a very ubiquitous resource or figure of speech in our daily language. Not only of literary language, which can be used to enrich your texts, your compositions, your applications. It's an extremely useful resource for any text that you might want to write. But what is it? How do we define it? Well, we define conceptual metaphor as a mapping of conceptual structure across discrete conceptual domains, where one domain, called the source, is used to reason and talk about another domain, the target domain. In other words, in our brain, what we have is two domains. In the source domain, we have the thing that is used to talk about the target, which is basically the thing we refer to. Let's illustrate this with an example. My lawyer is a shark. This is a pretty common, usual metaphor where we define a lawyer, for instance, as the animal shark. But this doesn't really mean that your lawyer is a shark himself, that he is the animal shark, but rather that he possesses some features that we associate with sharks, such as aggressiveness, violence, or lack of ethics. So you might say that a lawyer who goes to a trial and very aggressively tries to get his prey to win the trial no matter how, a lawyer who is willing to defend somebody who has done something bad, still is defending that person as lack of ethics, and often the very aggressive and violent behavior that we see in trials when lawyers argue and try to get their client to win the trial no matter what. How do we know this? The thing is that when we work on metaphors, we make use of all the knowledge that we have stored here in our brains from our experience, our history, everything that we know. It's all stored here. Now, in the case of sharks, for example, we know things from the movie Jaws, directed by Steven Spielberg, adapted from the novel by Peter Benchley, where there's the shark that goes into the beach and eats people without them noticing that the shark is in the water. Now, we also know information about sharks from magazines like National Geographic, shown in the next image, or even from documentaries, from textbooks, from encyclopedias, from internet. That's where we get all the knowledge from sharks. And what we know is that sharks are dangerous, sharks are terrifying, they eat people, they're very violent, and they're really truly terrifying animals. So all of this is what we mapped from the source domain. This knowledge is what builds the source domain. So as I said, source domain is on the left, where we have the shark and everything it evokes, and on the right we have the target domain. And the target domain, we see a lawyer who is very insistently trying to convince a jury of something, all the features that you think about your lawyer and his behavior. Finally, some examples. My neighbor Sally is such an angel. She always gives me food. Where the source domain, angel, goodness, purity, kindness, these features are mapped into the target domain, my neighbor Sally. In the second case, that guy acted like a true pig. How could he behave like that? In this case, pig is the source domain, and filthiness, lack of morality, and dirty behavior is mapped into that guy, the person is referring to in the sentence. And the third example, Charles had the eyes of a raccoon when he came back last night. The raccoon eyes, all black, are mapped, those features of tiredness, like looking tired, or the black color is mapped into the eyes that Charles had when he came back last night. In conclusion, metaphor is an extremely ubiquitous and useful resource to convey information. The use of metaphor involves mapping features from a source domain into a target domain, and using conceptual metaphor can help us create more efficient text, both in the domain of what's professional and also in text that we want to write in the literary realm.